Incredible. Have a great weekend, man.
You too. Have fun. Thank you. So, hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I am joined by CareLeaverSophia. We're going to be doing a video all about our personal statements and advice, tips and tricks for you guys when you are writing your personal statement, and particularly for everybody who's in care, it can be a little bit tricky to write your personal statement and know what to include. So if you don't know CareLeaverSophia, I'll leave all of her information down below in the description box, and make sure you check out her channel. If you did not know, she actually went to Oxford, so she can give us a really good perspective on her personal statement. Do you want to say a bit and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sophia, I'm a care leaver. I'm also in bed. I'm sorry this is quite casual, but you know, it's Zoom, it's 2020, what are you gonna do? Yeah, I went to Oxford for my undergrad.
But I genuinely think like it's a really great way of like showcasing yourself, you know, when applying to university.
100%. Okay.
And yeah, I'm really excited for this video.
Thank you for asking me.
So presumably I'm going to talk through my tips and tricks, and then do you want to add stuff?
Yeah, let's do it.
The first tip that I actually wrote down is to be passionate about the course. I feel like that's the most important thing. If you're applying to uni, 100% you need to be enjoying your course. The first answer that I gave to anybody whenever they asked was, I absolutely love the course and I just want to be there.
Yeah, no, that is the best answer to give.
Yeah. Was it the same for you?
Oh yeah, no, 100. Well, no, I mean, I love music and I loved the course, but I was also really excited about the university. Like, you know, I'd seen Oxford on Harry Potter and I was like, I'm gonna be a wizard for like 3 years. Of course I'm excited like about the uni in general as well. It's really important to be passionate about the course, but I think it's also like important to be passionate about the uni, and I definitely think you can attest to that, like with your choice of like which uni to go to. Yeah. So I think it's like a definite combination of everything, you know, the social life, the course, the location, the university itself. Just make sure that everywhere you're applying you actually want to go.
That would be my first bit of advice as well. The second tip that I have is make everything relevant in your personal statement. So every single bit of detail that you give about your life needs to be relevant to why you want to do that course. Is it the fact that you study something at school? Is it the fact that one of your teachers at school studied it? Is it that your best friend or your aunt's done it? You need to find the passion and the actual bit that made you love it. So if you loved a TV show, was it a book? You know, what actually intrigued you to do the course, and how is your life fitting in terms of that? Because that's something I really nailed in my personal statement.
I agree with that. I also think it's really interesting what you immediately think is relevant and what you can make sound relevant. So like when I was applying, I decided I wanted to do music at Oxford and I wanted to talk about my academics as well. And so I related my English lit coursework to the course I wanted to do by saying, hey, in English, we studied the Shakespeare play, The Tempest. In The Tempest, there are some songs. And so I read this book about songs in Shakespeare and then related that back to the fact I wanted to do music. So even if you think you're doing something that's got nothing to do with the course, you can always find that link. And if you find that link, pop it in your personal statement, because the uni will be like, aha, she's been preparing for this.
That's what I did I studied film studies for A level, and I tried to think of all of the examples that I could think of as to why that related to law and criminology. Like, how does that relate? I was like, I have a great eye for detail because that's what I've learned in English and film studies. And then for film studies, I picked out one particular film, which is The City of God, which is what we studied. Not a very good film in my opinion, but that's another story. It's focused very much on the boy's POV, and you sort of see his upbringing, his life, and I said, it's very much like that for me, and I related that back to criminology, and that was a tough link. So even if it's just a really loose connection, try and find every relevance, I guess, and make sure you're actually saying it in your personal statement. And the third bit of advice that I wrote down is the introduction is so essential. I feel like everybody's intro starts differently. I've heard some people start it with a quote or a text or a role model that inspired them. I actually just started with, I want to pursue a career in criminology or something. I'll find my statement, but I basically just gave one sentence as to why I wanted to do that degree, and I just summed it up in one sentence. But how did you start yours?
I'm an absolute sucker. Like, if I write an essay, I have to start with the most dramatic sentence possible. I've done it throughout like uni and throughout like any of my school essays. I like to say something controversial or something that would like draw them in. And so my first line of my personal statement was, growing up in various cities across Europe, I was consistently exposed to a vast array of cultural music, past and present.
Oh, I love
it's like,
that.
Boom! She grew up around the place.
Yeah.
She knows lots of music. There we go.
I love that. That's also bringing in your experiences and stuff as well, so they immediately know who you are. But yeah, I would definitely say the introduction is key. That's the first thing that the university reads about you. So without sounding too dramatic, it needs to be something that is gonna immediately hold the person who's reading it and say, okay, cool, I really want to hear what this girl or boy has to say.
I think it's really interesting being older now and knowing people who are in the roles that look through the personal statements, because I'll talk to them and they'll say, you know, I go through, you know, this many personal statements a day, and I'm like, that's so many. And if you think about how many hours you've put into that personal statement, like, they won't be spending the exact amount of time as you've been putting in to read it. So you really have to make it as memorable as possible. And like, it sounds awful, but you know, you want to stand out for that reason because they're reading so many.
That's pretty much where I went with mine, which was shock tactics. The fourth tip that I had was figure out how you're going to structure it. Structure is so important to your personal statement, and everybody's is going to be very different. There isn't a set structure or format of this is how you should do your personal statement and everybody should follow it. So how did you structure yours?
Having a look at it now, I started by saying why I was into music, but more specifically why I was into a certain type of music, because music, as with every other course, is so broad. I immediately decided what part of music I wanted to focus on in my personal statement, which was orchestral music of, what did I like the 20th century. So I talked a lot about Stravinsky, who's a really great composer, and I very much had that as the first paragraph. And then the next 3 paragraphs for me were all about extracurriculars, just because I did a lot of extracurriculars when I was at school, and they were relatively...
Because I was studying music, a lot of my extracurriculars were music, so it was all very relevant.
And then I had a paragraph for my academics, and by a paragraph I honestly mean like 4 lines. Like, I didn't spend that much time talking about academia, and then my last paragraph was just a conclusion. So in reality it went reason why, extracurriculars that relate, a little bit about my academia, conclusion. And the reason I think I spent so little time on academia is because at the end of the day, in terms of academics, university are going to see your grades, and they're going to base a lot of academia off of your grades. And so if you have the grades to support while you're going, don't spend time in your personal statement going, oh yes, I'm very good at this, I got an A in this, because they can already see that. Spend time talking about the stuff they don't see on your application.
If your grades are lacking a bit, so my grades, for example, my predicted grades were not reflective of my ability whatsoever. My reference, the first line of the reference was, do not look at her predicted grades, they're not reflective of her ability whatsoever in the slightest. Just to make sure to the university, so my personal statement was pretty much, you need to sell yourself because this is the only way you're going to be getting offers. So no pressure with my personal statement or anything. I'll leave a formatted document of like how I did my personal statement and what I put in each paragraph in the description box. But mine was pretty much why I want to do the course, the first line. The second paragraph that I did, it was what I want to do and what I want to do with my life and all my aspirations. Even though it was a bit nerdy sounding, I went through Loughborough website and Bath website, because I originally applied for Bath first, and I picked out key terminology from my course sort of overview. What they were looking for, that they put in their overview, I picked it out. I used phrases like, I really want to work with leading criminologists and researchers in this field in order to do da-da-da-da. And stuff like that I picked out and was like, this is what I want from you and this is what you're going to get from me. So that was my second paragraph. My third paragraph was my experiences in my past and why they affected why I wanted to do my course. What I thought of social policy and the fact that I've been let down by a lot of services, stuff like that, I put in and I was like, this is why I want to do what I want to do. And then I just spoke about my subjects and picked out bits from my subjects as to why it was relevant towards my course and why I picked those subjects. The fifth tip that I put in is try and relate your course to what kind of sort of career you want in the future, if that makes sense. Ideally, the university is going to accept you because they think, yes, I see potential in this person, and actually they are going to use their degree for a career. If you're not planning to do that, that's absolutely fine. Just lie on your personal statement. They genuinely want somebody who's going to want to do lead research stuff in that career. They don't want you just to come do your degree and then just not do anything with it in the future. Putting something in as to why you want to do that, why is that going to be relevant for the future, is such a good idea. I don't know if it's the same for you.
I actually agree with the idea of lying on your personal statement, which is not something I thought I'd say in this video. I graduated from my undergrad 2 years ago now, and I'm about to start a second master's. Woohoo! And I have a lot of friends who, you know, did music at Oxford. I have a lot of friends who did other subjects at Oxford and now work in entirely different fields. And honestly, universities know that. I mean, the transfer rate for Oxford music to law is about 50% of graduates go on and do law, like a law. Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous. Universities know that you might not continue doing it, but they want to know why specifically you've chosen to do this undergrad degree first. Because of course you can go on and do something else at postgrad or when you graduate, but right now they want to know why this. And you could, like, if you know that you don't want a career, say, I don't know, if you're doing law or something, you can very much say, like, even start your personal statement by going, I don't want to be a lawyer, and then explain what you do want to be. Or even you can even say, I don't know, but law will equip me with these essential skills. And then you can list like the skills you're going to learn during the degree. Even better, have a look on the website and see what modules you'll be studying, because you could say, I really want to study this module because I don't know, it'll prepare me for a career in something completely different, or it could open more doors for me. So when I say lie, I don't mean specifically say, you know, I'm doing law because I want to be a lawyer. I'm saying find a way to relate the course to something that you do want to do in the future.
Okay, number 6 is relevant reading. If you can put any academic novels that you've read, or just articles of like people who've studied something. If you can put anything like that in your personal statement that shows that you've done academic reading and you are genuinely interested in the course, I feel like that always looks good, because at the end of the day, you're going to university to read a subject and they want to know that you're interested in that. I don't know if that's the same sort of thing that you did.
No, okay, so my number 1 tip for stuff like this, I actually have big 2 tips about this. So firstly, try and choose a book that no one else has read. Now, this sounds really douchebaggy, but for a lot of subjects, for example with music, there was this one book called The Rest is Noise, which every sort of budding undergrad music student had read, and they all thought it was really original putting it on their statement, when they didn't realise that basically every music undergrad, like wanting to do music, was putting that same book. So go out, find your own like specialist subject within the course you want to do and read a book related to that. Like maybe it was newly published, maybe it's by a really interesting writer who doesn't get platformed enough. Try and find a really unique book. My second tip is actually read it, because I may have put a book on my personal statement that I haven't read. And on my way to interview, I realised, oh no, what if they ask me about this book in my interview? So I had to go on this whole little adventure of my own where I downloaded the app Audible and basically listened to a 12-hour long audio book version of this very complex academic book, because I was so panicked that my 3 interviews at Oxford were going to include questions about this book. Naturally, after going to all that trouble, the book didn't come up in any of the interviews, but the fact that I'd had to do that was really problematic and obviously stressed me out a bit. So if you are going to refer to an academic text, try and be original and make sure you've read it, and more importantly, make sure you understand it.
I would definitely say I would never ever put a book in there or an article that I'd never read or even recapped. If you're asked for interview, for example, they will use your personal statement as a template to interview you, because that is the only information they've got to ask their questions. So if you've put an academic text or an article in there and you've not read it and you get a question, they will know that you've not read it and you will be in deep trouble. Okay, so number 7, conclusion. Make it memorable. The conclusion and how you decide to end your personal statement is the last bit of information. So just like the introduction is key, the end bit and the way you tie everything together is absolutely essential. Again, I think I can't remember what I actually used in my personal statement. What did you use in your conclusion? How did you sort of finish it off?
So I treated my conclusion as a kind of summary, just to basically summarise the main point. And as I said to you, 3 of my paragraphs were about extracurriculars. And so I very much ended by saying, attending a specialist music school, I am experienced in balancing my intellectual pursuits with my practical musical activities. And by saying that, I'm addressing the fact that I can do my extracurriculars and excel in academia. And that's kind of like a really show-off point for me. I've almost spelt it out for them. I've said I'm great at time management because I can do all of this and I have the grades to apply to you. So I'm quite impressive, thank you very much. So basically find a way of summarising what you've just said over the last few paragraphs and spell it out to them, because they might have looked through and been like, oh yeah, sure, time management, but some of them might just be like scanning through. So if at the end, like just highlight those key points. And then I just reiterated the fact that there was a certain career I wanted to do. I wanted to be a conductor. And I'd already said that earlier on, but I said it again at the end. And I said, as an aspiring conductor, and then gave my last list about why exactly I wanted to do the course.
I did something very similar, but I used sort of my career and the fact that I would like a career in criminology. So I put, I'm committed to a career in criminology and feel that my own personal experience, together with my academic skills, have combined to lead me to this course, hence this application. They were my final lines of my personal statement. So I did sort of the same sort of thing, I guess. Okay, number 8. Is quite a tough one, especially if you're in care and you put a lot of effort into your personal statement, is get your personal statement ripped to shreds by every single teacher or person in your life. If you've got a teacher that is particularly critical, you need to go to them to get your personal statement ripped to pieces. I don't know if it's
Agreed.
the same with you.
Oh God, 100%. Like, you haven't written a personal statement if you haven't cried. No, I'm like half kidding, but also half not. I remember thinking my first draft was the absolute bomb, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna walk into Oxford. And I think I sent it to a teacher and they were like, what is this? Like, what is this drivel? Also, don't just rely on teachers. Like, if you have mates who are in older years, or if you have like older siblings, or if you're at a foster placement where there are older kids, just any connection, like send them your personal statement. Just say to them, please, can you read this? Because also at the end of the day, you might have made a spelling mistake, and honestly, you get in that bubble where you've reread text so many times that your mind might start correcting mistakes before you even realize they're there. Whenever I write something, like regardless of whether it's like an academic essay or if it's like an article or something, there are a group of people I have on Facebook that I will always send it to make sure that they go through and check for any grammar and spelling. Same with you. Don't rely on teachers. You can also, use foster parents. Honestly, ask your social worker. Why not? Just everyone, because know that everyone else who does have a family or like is in, I don't know how you say it, the stereotypical normal kid our age, they will have like a whole like familial network to check their thing for them. So utilize your own contacts and ask. You're not being selfish. That's just what all of us did at age 17.
Yes. No, everybody takes advantage of it, and they take advantage of the support they have, so why wouldn't you do the same?
And you pass it down anyway. Like I've looked at so many people's like personal statements over the years. Like, I was literally editing one like last month or something. Yeah, it's something that you will keep doing, and it's a nice thing to pass down, I think.
I remember doing my first draft of my personal statement. I thought it was absolutely incredible, and I was like, this is the best piece of writing I've ever done. I spent about a month and a half on my first draft thinking that was going to be my final. I was just going to get it corrected, for grammar. And I sent it to my foster mum, and she went, you can't submit that to a university, Eleanor. She went, no. My final paragraph was, I binge watch every crime documentary since like 20 years ago. And Rachel was like, they're not going to be impressed that you've binged Netflix in your personal statement. So, and I said, but it shows genuine interest. If I'm watching crime programmes every 10 seconds, she went, they won't care about that, Ellie. Number 12, know which universities you're applying for and make sure you're visiting them as well.
Yes.
Like, we have had a bit of a conversation off camera about our experience in terms of applying. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about yours.
Yeah, no, totally. When I applied for uni, I applied for 5 in the UK that weren't conservatoire. So I applied for Oxford, Durham, Bristol, King's College London and Edinburgh. And they were all for different reasons. Mostly because all the courses looked really good. And this is the thing, like the courses can look spectacular, you can hear great views, but until you visit that university, dude, you have no idea. Oh my God. And I didn't realise this until, so I had an offer from Bristol and I was just excited because I was like, never been to Bristol, let's go on a train. And I got on a train with one of my friends from school who had also the only person who got an offer. We got on the train, we got there, we went in to like the main hall and there was an introduction and there was a band that started playing, and 3 minutes into this band starting playing, I looked around and I said, I can't go here. Because until that point, I was going to put Bristol as my second choice to Oxford. And literally being in that city for about 3 minutes, I thought, I can't spend 3 years here. Yeah. And I loved the idea of the course, and I'd heard great reviews. I had friends that were there. The university was really prestigious, but for some reason, I didn't like it. And I cannot explain it. It's just a vibe. It is just a vibe. And I hate that word, but it was a vibe.
That's the same experience that I had at Sussex, but also Southampton. Great reviews. Everybody says they're really good unis. Prospectus looked amazing. The courses looked incredible. I went and I wasn't going there for 4 years. I just wasn't. It just wasn't happening. So definitely visit them. Know everything you need to know about university. So like your accommodation, make sure you look around your accommodation, because the university could be amazing, but then you could absolutely hate the accommodation. And make sure that you know that you're going to get halls for first year if you are applying to halls. If you're not off campus, you know sort of the ins and outs of that. I did a spreadsheet. I can't believe I'm saying I did a spreadsheet.
Amazing!
With all of the universities and everything that I valued first. So like accommodation, city, and I had them ranked 1 to 10 of what I thought when I visited them. So as I was going around the accommodation, I put like 5 for Southampton and I put a 10 for Loughborough, and I was like, okay, city, what do I feel like when I'm in the city? Do I feel a bit uncomfortable? Do I feel safe? Which is also a good thing to think about. I mean, you're going to be living there for 3 years. If you're doing a 5-year course, you'll be there for 5 years. That's quite an important thing to think about. If you don't feel safe in the city, that's obviously going to impact your decision. So I guess it's different for everybody, because everybody has different criteria. Like my criterion, Ben's criteria for applying to uni was completely different.
I think also, just as like a CareLeaver specific tip, a lot more now universities are tending to have sort of CareLeaver and estranged groups, and they're quite active on social media. And so if you are serious, if you think like this university is my top choice, I wouldn't just go to an open day. I would try and go to the university not on an open day, because you find out so much more about the uni when they're not trying to show off. So my advice, for example, if you wanted to go to, I don't know, the University of Brighton, look up Care Experience and Exchange Student Group, reach out to them and say, would any of your members be up for going for a coffee with me if I come down to Brighton? And go to Brighton, get them to give you like a mini tour, because you will find out most about a university when they're not trying to show off to you. Also, I think it's a great idea to get acquainted with someone who is care experienced and at that university, because they can tell you about the pros and cons of being a care leaver at that specific university. They might have bursaries they don't advertise. They might have certain forms that are hard to fill out. They might have good opportunities. They might have a good mentorship scheme that you just wouldn't find out otherwise.
I remember getting in touch with one from Loughborough who's just recently graduated. We've spoken on Twitter quite a bit, but...
Is that Kim?
Yes.
Incredible.
Good advice. And I wouldn't have found her had I not stalked Twitter a little bit.
I think it goes without saying as well that like if you want to apply to Oxford or Loughborough, 100% reach out to us.
Yes, 100%. And there's loads of other people on social media who are really, really active, who post a lot about their universities. Okay, I feel like that's a good point to stop on. Thank you so much for coming on my channel. I really, really appreciate it. If you guys need any more tips or advice or anything like that, make sure to leave comments down below in the description box. I'll leave Sophia's information in the description box as well, so make sure you go and subscribe and follow her socials as well. Yeah, I feel like that's everything. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Awesome. Completed. Thank you so much for wanting to collab.
Yeah, that was fun. It was good.